All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now to our fan favorite sections of shout outs and or rants. We will keep the same order.
Jonathan Armstrong, do you have a shout out and or rant for us today?
Well, I have a shout out, and I know it's a couple of weeks ago now, but I think I'm still fairly joyous about the achievements of Emma Raducanu. So for those of you who don't know the story, this is a tennis player who was born in Toronto to a Romanian father and a Chinese mother. She moved to the UK when she was 2, and she recently beat Leylah Fernandez to win the US Open. Not only did she win it, she won it as a qualifier, obviously not seeded, and she didn't drop a set. There'll be a future trivia quiz question, I'm sure, as to what was the only other tournament she won prior to winning the US Open. And anyone who listens to this podcast can get ahead in that compliance quiz question when it appears by remembering that her previous victory was at the Deccan Gymkhana Club in Pune, India, where she won about $25,000 versus the, some say, $20, $25, $30 million she'll win from winning the US Open in terms of the prize money and the sponsorship and the appearance fees as a result. In one tournament, she went from 338 in the world to 23rd. And I think there's some interesting lessons for CCOs here as well. She's obviously an aspirational figure in what she did in this tournament. And I think it tells us all that there are moments in our life when we need to be fearless. She's talked about her fearlessness. She's talked about the fact that she'd already got her return flights booked after the qualifying tournament, but that she thought that she had nothing to lose. She's talked about living in the moment, which I think is a great lesson for us. You know, sometimes we have compliance crises where we don't know how it's going to pan out in the next 14 days, the next month, the next year, the next 3 years. And I can remember a colleague of mine saying, in the middle of one of these crises, you've only got to have a 3-day plan in a crisis. Don't try and plan ahead too much. And I think this is, again, what Emma's told us, that living in the moment is sometimes the best policy. And then the third area I think that that Emma teaches us is you've got to focus on what you can control. You can't control your opponent. You can't control what your opponent is going to do. You can influence that by the shots that you play and your own strategy. But if you focus on your strategy and your game, you've got a greater chance of success. So shout out Emma Raducanu.
Mr. Rosen.
Thanks, Tom. 40-0 over the Houston Texans. 35-0 over the Dolphins. 43-21 over the Washington football team. You know me as being a big Boston homer, but I want to direct everyone's eyes to the late game on Sunday, where Josh Allen will take on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And I say that's the preview of the AFC title game. And as Boomer says, nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. So this goes out to you, Lisa Fine. It's looking good. Let's hope you can hold it up for the rest of the season.
Matt Kelly.
Yeah, I have a shout out to, of all people, Kareem Abdul Jabbar. I guess we're going to keep going with the sports metaphors for now. And what Kareem, or Mr. Abdul Jabbar, I suppose I should say, his recent essay that he wrote about getting vaccinated and vaccination requirements for the NBA, which I thought was spot on, very well written. He rightfully stepped up and said, of course the NBA players should be vaccinated. and that while there are some holdouts among the 250-ish number of actual players in the NBA itself employs thousands and thousands of people, and there are going to be many others who attend NBA games or who work in concession stands or something else. Like the NBA's extended enterprise is many, many, many thousands of people who all might have some exposure to this COVID virus because there are a few knuckle draggers in the NBA who don't want to get vaccinated. And that is ridiculous. And Kareem Abdul Jabbar took them on head on in this wonderful essay that he wrote a few weeks ago. And I especially liked his line about one of the anti-vax holdouts, Kyrie Irving, where he basically said, the NBA will survive without Kyrie Irving's services. And I could not agree more that this is exactly the position the NBA should take. And I applaud all of the teams that have been driving vaccination requirements for their players, for the staff, for everybody else. My inner Celtics fan, it is a little bit difficult for me to keep on plugging away for Kareem Abdul Jabbar, since I remember when he was a Laker in the 80s, and I used to hate him then, but he is an excellent human being now, and his latest essay in favor of COVID vaccinations just keeps proving that.
Karen Woody.
I have to diverge from the sports analogy because mine is the sheer tourism plug. It's a shout out to, right now I'm sitting in a beautiful place right outside of Brown County, Indiana, where I'm here for a wedding, and the trees are turning, and it's a spectacular place and a beautiful park. I have nothing good to say about the Colts, even though I'm here in Indiana, so I won't. That's all I have to say sports related. But it's a beautiful place, and so, again, not a place many people might frequent unless they have ties to Indiana University or elsewhere, but I'm giving a shout-out to this spectacular place in the world.
Well, I'm going to go in a different direction, although I suppose you could say it's sports-related. And my rant is about Waller County, Texas. If you don't know where Waller County is, it's the county adjacent to Harris County, which is where Houston is, one county west. Waller County used to be a pretty rural county, but in Texas, because of our oil money, we have great county roads. And for 25 years, Waller County has been the place where cyclists do training rides, and particularly on the weekend. Well, the Waller Countyites, the people who live there, do not like cyclists on their roads, and they have harassed and otherwise made riding there considerably more difficult over the years. And I have personal experience in this, so I will relate that in a moment. But on September 9th of this year, a 16-year-old driving a diesel pickup truck attempted to, quote, roll coal over 6 riders. And what that means is you blow diesel smoke in their face. While trying to do that, he picked up his cell phone and then he managed to run over those 6 riders. 2 were life flighted out, 2 went by ambulance, and 2 didn't have to go. They were able to go to the hospital on their own. But that's not my rant against that idiot. My rant is against Waller County, because Waller County came out there and allegedly investigated. They let the kid go. They didn't interview him. They have not charged him with anything, not so much as a ticket for negligent driving. And here's the personal part. On September 28th of 2009, about a mile from where this event happened, I got taken out by a Hummer in Waller County. When the police came, what did they give him a ticket for? No insurance. So, to Waller County, the most pathetic law enforcement group, they've yet to charge him. They've said they can't see anything wrong with what happened. It just, 6 people got run over by a truck. I guess it happens every day in Waller County.